All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Before we jump into today's video, I just want to say shout outs and thank you to all the guys, been subscribing, leaving likes, commenting on the videos and stuff like that. We hit over 200 subscribers and I had no idea that was going to happen. That was a complete surprise. That's almost like 70 subscribers in 2-3 weeks. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. And thank you again. And let's get into the video. All right, now for the actual build I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, it's going to be a cold snap focus build. And not just like a cold snap to, freeze enemies in place. This thing actually does damage. Like, it actually clears entire rooms out instantly. It's kind of amazing when you see it. And like always, there'll be footage in the background, showing you how this thing works. And the only kind of downside is when you fight an enemy that can't be frozen. But we can supplement that damage with a really good primary, which is, right here, I'm using the Emerald Chaos, but you can roll so many different weapons. But one thing you do need is you don't need it, but I would suggest getting a mod on your weapon that can do a debuff, something like Toxic or Bleed or Ash, something like that. And the build will still work if you don't have a good roll weapon, but just keep an eye out for one because it definitely works better if you do have a weapon like that. So let's move on to the armor. And the actual armor we're going to be using is 3-piece Borealis set. And if you don't know what this set does, all it does is give you 50% more damage against frozen enemies. And the second part is pretty irrelevant. It just gives you 10% crit damage after you use the cold snap. I mean, it's icing on the cake, but you don't need it for the build. So let's break down the parts we have here. I'm actually going to start off with the pants first because this is what got me on my journey to make this build. I got these to drop, a couple days ago. It dropped with Shatter in the 3rd mod slot and Freezing Boost, which always comes on these. So I saw these and this gave me inspiration for the build. And yeah, it worked out pretty well. I will say that. And in the first slot, I just rolled Quartermaster. This is pretty much essential for the build. You can run it without it. I wouldn't suggest it. It just makes everything work 10 times better. So now moving up to the helmet, I rolled Frostbite on here. And what this does is whenever you throw a cold snap, the enemies have 20% reduced resistance, which is really good. And Painful Chill rolls on here automatically. On the tooltip, it says it does 875,000 damage. It's going to do more than that because of the other mods that we're using. I believe it's going to be around like 1.2, 1.3-ish million, depending on how many stacks we have. And we got Anomaly Echo in the 3rd slot. This isn't bad. I kind of wish it was Euthanizer. Euthanizer is just like the best for Technomancers because you get so much toxic from everything. But the Anomaly Echo is fine. That's really good. Now moving on to the chest piece, which is always, the core of any Borealis cold snap because it comes with Icicle Storm. And Icicle Storm is so good because whenever you kill an enemy that's been frozen by a cold snap, it's going to do 3.4 million damage. It's going to do more than that because of some of our other mods. And then I rolled License to Heal on here. You don't need this, but I found it to be super helpful. And what this does, just going to give you infinite ammo for 4 seconds and 10% increased weapon damage. And this is pretty much just for when you're fighting elites or like bosses so that you can just spam your fixing wave. Always have that uptime, so that's really good. And then the 3rd slot here is kind of like a dead mod. It's Party Starter. It's not bad. It's not good either, but it's just here. We just got unlucky on that one. Now moving on to the gloves, which are gloves and the boots are just legendary pieces. So these can definitely be replaced. You can definitely find something better here. With that being said, we got pretty amazing rolls here. We got Long Winter in the 1st slot. That's going to increase the radius of cold snap by 50%. And then we got Ice Baby. I rolled that on here because if you cold snap an enemy that's already frozen, they're going to take 2.3 million damage. It's going to be more than 2.3, but that's just the base. And then we rolled Radical Therapy in the 3rd slot, which we got super lucky there. And pretty much your cold snap is going to be freezing them. You're going to get your cold snap back and then you're going to throw it again and it's just going to wipe the entire room out. So that's pretty good, especially in combination with the Painful Chill and the helmet. So it's going to be a couple million extra damage. So it's really good, super helpful. And the boots are definitely the most replaceable part in this set. I don't like to make a build without Phantom Dash. I just like the way it looks and you can go through enemies. Every build I make, I try to get Phantom Dash on there some kind of way. So pretty much Phantom Dash and Emergency Stance, the 3rd slot mod, both of these can be replaced with something else. But Virulent Compound is pretty handy, especially when you're fighting elites because you can't freeze them. So that 10% extra damage is going to be super helpful. So Phantom Dash you don't need. Emergency Stance is really good. You don't need it, but it's super helpful. And these boots overall are definitely the weakest part, but they work. So let's move on to the skills. Now the skills here are pretty simple. We're using cold snap, we're using blighted rounds, and we're using fixing wave. And how all these things go together is, you're gonna pop your blighted rounds, and you're gonna, damage enemies. You're gonna shoot them, and before you run out of ammo, you're gonna pop your fixing wave to heal and refill your ammo to full due to some of the mods that we're using. And with the cold snap in combination with the blighted rounds, you're always going to be applying statuses. So you're always going to be resetting your cooldowns. And we'll see more about how we're doing that when we get to the packs tree. But before we go there, let's take a look at the class tree. This one's pretty simple. I started off on the bottom tree. We're going to pick up all this anomaly power, this resistance piercing. Then we're going to go up through the middle and pick up wipeout. Wipeout is super important because that 20% more damage, you just can't beat that. That's just amazing. And then we're going to go up, and then we're also going to go backwards in the tree and pick up the cooldown for the gadgets. Now you don't really need this. You could pick something else up, but I just like having that there. So you could probably pick up something, like some more skill leech or toxicologist down there at the bottom. This is just what I chose. And then we're also going to pick up exposing frost. So every time you freeze an enemy, you're going to be applying vulnerable, which stacks with the packs tree. So that's super helpful. So pretty much we're going to be applying toxic from your primary, freeze from your cold snap, and vulnerable from this node inside the skill tree. So that's 3 debuffs per enemy, super handy. And then we mark for execution, of course. And then we're going to go all the way down, pick these up, and overclocked. Overclocked is one of the most busted tree perks in the game. It's so good. The fact that it gives you a revive, and the fact that it gives you 40% anomaly power and weapon damage for 10 seconds. That's crazy. That's pretty much always up. There's no downtime because your cooldowns are going to be up and ready all the time. And last but not least, we're going to check out the packs tree, which this packs tree is so crazy, dude. I just wish they would give us 2 more points for us to spend down here. Just 2 more points. And the build possibilities would be like literally endless. Just 2 more points down here. But let's just finish this up. And we're going to go bottom tree, of course. We're picking up the Undying. Every 5% of your health that's missing is going to increase your weapon leech and skill leech. And then we're picking up override. Your anomaly power is increased by 100% of your skill leech. My current value is 32. That goes up once we start losing health due to the first node. And then we have apothecary, which is one of the best heals in the game. I love this node right here. You pulse every 5 seconds, healing all players within 25 meters for 2% of all damage dealt by you in between each pulse. So as long as you're fighting, as long as you're applying debuffs, as long as you're doing damage, you're pretty much always going to be getting full heals. Like, it's kind of insane. And then the next node, which is the most busted node in the game on Technomancer, is the Hasten Influence. This is going to reduce your cooldowns of one of your skills by 1 second for every status effect removed by you or applied to the enemy by any player. So while you're fighting and you're dropping your cold snap, that's 1 debuff, the ice. Your cold snap is going to be applying vulnerable, that's another debuff. Your primary weapon, which is why I was saying it was important to have an element on your weapon earlier, like toxic or burn or ash or something like that, because that's another debuff. And along with blighted rounds, that's, you're going to spread that toxic towards other enemies, which is also going to count. It doesn't count, like, there's no cooldown on this perk. So as long as you're fighting and debuffing enemies, you will continuously refresh your cooldown. So it's kind of insane. And I'm pretty sure this is the reason why they don't give us more packs tree points, because this in combination with some other nodes in here would completely bust the game up. And then the last node here is burrowing charge, of course. This is super good. It does a lot of damage. And the more anomaly power you have, so you could put something like Mage's Rage on one of your guns if you get lucky with their roll. That's really good. That'll help this do more damage. But what this does is your critical shots inject enemies with an explosive charge for 5 seconds. And the next time you crit them, it's going to explode for 250% of your total anomaly power. So if you're running a straight up anomaly build, not this build right here per se, but I've seen this thing hit up to like 10, 20, 30 million damage. Like, it's pretty insane. But for this build, we won't be hitting that hard because we're not that focused into anomaly power, but this is a really good perk. And that's pretty much it for the build. Now, a little bit of notes for the build is, if you can, you want your primary weapon to be a machine gun, because those have bigger magazines and you get a lot more chance to fight before you have to reload using your fixing wave. And with your cold snap, you just want to throw it down whenever you get it back. It doesn't matter if there's like, you know, just 3-4 enemies, just throw it down, you'll get it back, no problem. Now it really shines when you're fighting a room just jam-packed full of enemies, because you're pretty much going to get your cold snap back immediately. Like, there's no cooldown. You throw it, you freeze like 20, 30 guys, and then you drop your cold snap again, and the room is completely empty, minus elites. That's why we have a good primary. So throw your cold snap when you can, keep your blighter rounds up, use your fix and wave when you can, when you need to reload or need to heal. And yeah, just have fun. This is a pretty easy build. I'm probably going to use this to farm because there's literally no thinking involved, and I have no idea why this is so powerful, but it is. And I'm not complaining, because it's the type of stuff that we need inside the game, you know, just crazy builds like this. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope you guys have the pieces inside of your stash already to make something close to this. And thank you for stopping by, man. Again, I appreciate all the new subscribers, man. You guys are awesome. All you guys leaving likes, stuff like that. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that shenanigans. My name is Alex, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.
Game over.